Boys and girls, today we're reading Eric Carle's A House for Hermit Crab. And this is such a sweet story about this hermit crab and an adventure that he goes on. So let's get started. This is a fiction story. All right. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening out into the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. There he is. And there is the other fish that he thinks is going to come attack him. So he has to hurry up and find another shell to get into to be safe. Because as we've learned before, that shell is what keeps his body safe. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. There they are, right there. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It is so plain it needs you. I'll come, whispered a small anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claws and put it on his shell. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the seafloor. How handsome you are, said the Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, signaled a little star, and carefully the Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. In May, the Hermit Crab discovered some coral. There it is. They were hard and they didn't move. How pretty you are, said the Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to help make my house more beautiful? I would, cried a crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. So there is the starfish, the anemone, and the coral, all going onto his shell. In time, the Hermit Crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up the algae and the bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. How tidy and hardworking you are, said the Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and help clean my house? I would, offer one of the snails. Happily, the Hermit Crab picked it up in his claw and placed it on his shell. How would one of how would you boys and girls feel about collecting some snails to live in your house to help clean your messy bedrooms for you and your mom and dad? How cool would that be? But I have a feeling you guys would need a lot more than one snail to come help clean up. In July, the Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. How fierce you look, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to protect my house? Would one of you be willing to protect my house? I would, answer a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, the Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. Ooh. Have any of you ever been able to hold one of these at an aquarium before? Those are really cool to hold, and you have to hold your hand very flat and not move it. It's pretty cool. If you haven't had the chance, I hope you do. In August, ooh, look at that. In August, the hermit crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. I know a lot of you have seen seaweed before. It's so dark in here, thought Hermit Crab. How dim it is, murmured the sea anemone. How gloomy it is, whispered the starfish. How murky it is, complained the coral. I can't see, said the snail. It's like a nightmare, cried the sea urchin. Oh no. In September, the hermit crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. How bright you are, said the hermit crab. Would one of you be willing to light up our house? I would, replied one of the lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. Ooh, look how cool that is. How bright they are. It's like its own personal lamp. In October, the hermit crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. How sturdy you are, said the hermit crab. Would you mind if I rearranged you? Not at all, answered the pebbles, and the hermit crab picked them up one by one with his claws and built a wall around his shell. Now my house is perfect, cheered the hermit crab. But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little over the year, the hermit crab had grown. Soon it would have to find another bigger home. But he had come to love his friends. The sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. They have been so good to me, thought the hermit crab. They are like a family. How can I ever leave them? Oh. In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. I've outgrown my shell, she said. Would you know a place for me? I've outgrown my house too, answered the hermit crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promise, said the little crab. Oh, that was so nice of that hermit crab. Ooh, look how big he is. The following January, the hermit crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. Couldn't stay in that little shell forever, said the hermit crab as he waved goodbye, and the ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered. But hermit crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell, and it looked, well, a little plain, but sponges, he thought, and barnacles and clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. He cannot wait to decorate that shell. And that is the end of our story, boys and girls. So as I read this story, I just so happen to think of you guys as you guys are finishing up our last couple months here in kindergarten, and how you guys have picked up little things and learned so much on the way. And as you guys get ready to get started to go into first grade, how exciting it must be and nerve-wracking it must be. But you guys are going to do so great in first grade, and I cannot wait to see all the things that you learn there. And so be brave like your hermit crab. Some of you might not all be in the same class again next year, and that's okay because you'll see each other on the playground anyway, but be brave. First grade's gonna be so much fun, and I'm so excited for you guys. Be like our little hermit crab. Go out there and get some new friends and explore the new adventures out there waiting for you. Love you guys. I'll see you for the next story.